In this video, we're going to be multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers, and there are a few rules that we need to learn. 0 divided by a is equal to 0. That's this rule right here. 0 divided by a is equal to 0. 0 in the numerator divided by any number other than 0 is equal to 0. However, when we try to do division by 0, a divided by 0, that is undefined. So 0 can never, ever be in the denominator. Another rule is that when you're multiplying two positives or two negatives, so two positives or two negatives together, your result, your product, will be a positive. Okay? Multiplying two positives equals a positive. Multiplying two negatives is also a positive number. However, when you multiply a positive times a negative or a negative times a positive, that's going to result in a negative number. So let's get started. We've got negative 5 times 6. That's a negative times a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative number. 5 times 6 is 30. Negative 9 times 2. Negative times a positive is a negative. 9 times 2 is 18. So our result is negative 18. 9 times negative 5. 9 times negative 5 is a positive times a negative, which is a negative. 9 times 5 is 45. Negative 45. Negative 10 times negative 11. Negative times a negative is a positive. 10 times 11 is 110. And some people will just write this as 110, which is also correct. Negative 12 times negative 10 is a negative times a negative, and a negative times a negative is a positive. 12 times 10 is 120. Positive 120. 15 times negative 43. A positive times a negative is a negative, and then 15 times 43, I have to multiply off to the side. 3 times 5 is 15, and I have to carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Now I'm working with this 4 right here. 4 times 5 is 20. I'm going to put the 0 from the 20 underneath the 4, underneath this 4. 4 times 5 is 20, so I put the 0 here, and then I have a 2 now. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. So 645. Now, you saw me add that way, but really I would add it this way. 5, 4 plus 0 is 4, and then 6 is 6, so 645. So negative 645 is my answer. We've got negative 49 times negative 2.1. A negative times a negative is a positive, and then 49 times 2.1. I'm going to first multiply 49 times 21, or 49. I'm going to pretend like it's 49 times 21, and I'll worry about the decimal at the end. 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 4 is 4. Then we have 2 times 9 is 18. Bring down the 8 and carry that 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 9 plus 0 is 9. 4 plus 8 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 9 is 10. We had 1/10 place right here, so we're going to move in 1 place as well in our answer, and we get 102.9. And you can check your answer with a simple calculator, but you'll also want to know how to multiply these off to the side. Let's try a fraction. 5/7 times negative 2/3. A positive times a negative is a negative, and then we're going to multiply straight across. If we can cross cancel, we will. We can't cross cancel anything here, so we end up with -10/21, which is in a reduced form. We box our answer. If we have to multiply multiple numbers, 9 times -2 times -6 times 7, we're going to take baby steps. 9 times -2, that would be a positive 9 times a -2 would be negative 9 times 2 is 18 times -6 times 7. Now I can multiply in any order I want. I can take -18 times -6, or I can take -6 times 7, or I can take -18 times 7. I'm going to take -18 times -6. And a negative times a negative is a positive. 18 times 6, I'm going to go off to the side and multiply that. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 4 is 10. I have a positive 108 times 7. So a positive 108 times 7. 108 times 7. I already know my answer is going to be a positive, because a positive times a positive is a positive. 108 times 7. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 0 is 0 plus that 5 from the 56 is 5, and then 7 times 1 is 7. So positive 756. And remember, while I'm writing a positive in front of all of my numbers, you do not need to do that. And that's how you multiply positive and negative numbers. Now, how do you divide positive and negative numbers? Dividing has the same rules as multiplying. So if I have 24 divided by -3, I have a positive divided by a negative. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So positive divided by a negative equals a negative. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. And if I have a positive divided by a positive, or a negative divided by a negative, their result is a positive. Now we can write 24 divided by -3 as a division problem, or we could write division problems as fraction problems. 18 divided by -2. Well, 18 is positive, 2 is negative. A positive divided by a negative is a negative, and 18 divided by 2 is 9. -9. If we have -63 divided by -9, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 63 divided by 9 is 7. -2 divided by 0.8. Negative divided by a positive is a negative. And then I like to change my decimals when I'm multiplying and dividing into fractions if it that's going to help me. And in this case, it's going to help me. Negative 2 divided by 8/10. Now remember that your decimals can be written as fractions, and then dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. And then I can cancel out, remember that 10 in the numerator, I'm going to keep that, but 8 is 2 times 2 times 2, or I can say 2 times 4. And look at this. This 2 cancels out with one of those. And that 10 in the numerator is the same thing as 2 times 5. So I'm going to be able to cancel out the 2 with one of these 2's. Because remember, a factor in the numerator with that same exact factor in the denominator is a value of 1. That factor in the numerator with that same exact factor in the denominator is a factor of 1. So we're going to end up with a negative value. Remember, we're way up here. A negative 5 over 2. And that's how I would divide if I was dealing with division of a decimal.